Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm. In this video, we are going to handle our combat. Okay, so the way combat's going to work in this game is essentially it's going to change our players' health as they fight. So if they get hit, it's going to remove their health. If they attack the other enemy, the enemy's health is going to go down, but it's going to be a very basic system. I'm making this as basic as possible with the intention of allowing you to make it more complicated as you want. So here's one example of ways you can make it more complicated. You can use a random number generator to generate a random amount of hits or hit points the enemy does to you each time they swing. You can also have a random number generator that determines whether or not you actually dodge the attack and take no damage. So there's a lot of ways you can make this different. I'm going to make a very basic one though. So let's start with a menu header that basically just tells them that they are in the middle of a battle. Then we need to create a couple of different variables. We want one for the enemy's health. And we'll set that equal to, let's say, 500. And we want one for the enemy damage. And we'll set that to 10. Now, we could also create a new class. So we can create an enemy class like we've created the player class. And we can put all the details inside of there. And we can actually call a different enemy depending on a random number, right? So we can say that, we can have a random number generator that picks between blah, 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 blah. And then if it's this, then this enemy spawns. If it's that, then that enemy spawns. We could do all that, right? We can make it more complicated. But for the purposes of this very simple version of the game, we're just going to have an enemy with 500 health, and it does 10 damage every time it hits you, right? That's pretty easy. Actually, yeah, let's do 20 damage. Make it a little bit more damaging. Okay. All right. So let's create a loop that basically says while the enemy still has some health left, we're going to do the following things. So while enemy health is greater than 0, then we are going to do all kinds of stuff. So first, let's give them the option. Let's say action. Oh, I need my quotes there. Action. Oh, hello. What did I type there? 1 is going to be attack, and 2 is going to be a spell. Now, the attack is going to do some damage, but it's not going to cost any resources. The spell, however, is going to do way more damage, but it's going to cost mana. Remember that each of our player classes has a certain amount of mana. Okay, so the fighter, for example, has 50 mana. It's going to cost 50 mana to cast a spell. So the fighter can cast 1 fireball in the whole game. And once he casts that fireball, he no longer can cast fireball again. He has to attack with his basic attack power, which is 100. The mage, however, will be able to cast 3 fireballs, but he once his fireballs are used up, he'll be able to attack at his regular attack power. So, anyway, the rogue is actually going to be able to do a ton of damage because he can cast 2 fireballs and his regular attack is 150. But the rogue also can't take very much damage. So it all balances out. All right, where are we? Oh, down here. Okay, so we give them the option. Choice equals input choice. Okay, now if the choice is 1, if choice equals 1, then we're going to reduce the enemy health by player attack, right? So what that means is the enemy's health is going to go down by the value of your player's attack value. So basically the player if they do 150, then the health will go down by 150. Now we can display our enemy health on the screen if you want. That's totally fine. But let's just say you hit the enemy for player.attack damage. The enemy has enemy health left. Super easy. Super easy to do. Oh, I need to end my quotes there. There we go. Alrighty, so that's pretty straightforward. Let's see what happens if we cast a fireball. So enemy health is going to go down, not by the player attack, but it'll go down by a standard 250. Okay, because the fireball does a lot of damage. 2 fireballs and this enemy is dead. Okay. Player.mana, however, is also going to go down by 50. Now, again, these values are, I'm just making them up. You can completely change these values or change how all of this works completely. Now, we also need to check to see if player.mana is greater than or equal to 50. Then this will happen. Okay. Cool. And let's say print your fireball hit the enemy for 250 damage. The enemy has left. Okay. Perfect. Now, if they have the mana, then we do that attack. If they don't, then we'll say print you don't have enough mana. Alrighty. Easy enough. Easy enough. Cool. Oh, let's also handle if they type something other than 1 and 2. That's pretty easy to do. We know how to do that. Else, print I don't understand that response. Okay, that's pretty easy. Then let's have the player get hit. So the player is already attacked. Let's have the player's health go down by 20. The player gets hit. We'll say the enemy hits or attacks you for 20 damage. Okay, easy enough. Then let's check to see if the player's health is less than 0. So if player.health is less than or equal to 0, then we'll call the death function and break out of this loop. Okay, beautiful. So that's going to handle player being hit, all of this right here. Now the last thing we need to do is basically once the enemy is dead, then we need to send a message to the player and break out of the loop. So once this enemy is dead, we'll be out of the loop. So here we can print, new line, the enemy is dead. And then we can call story2, which we haven't written yet. Let's go ahead and write that up here real fast. So we have story1. Let's write story2. So this would be continuing the story. Okay, so this is again, this is a very, very simple, very basic combat function. Let's go ahead and test this out to see if it actually works. I'm going to run it. Okay, enter your name, David. Ooh, let's squish this over so you guys can actually see. All right, let's run this again. Stop, run. Fighter. Keep this hero? Yes. Alrighty. So we get the story. I'm going to run into the forest. Then I get running into the forest. You hear blah, 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 blah. I am going to attack the men. Now let's do number 1 first. Okay. So you shout toward the men. They all run towards you. So battle. I'm going to, let's cast a spell first. Your fireball hit the enemy for 250 damage. The enemy has 250 left. The enemy attacks you for 20 damage. Let's try my fireball again. You don't have enough mana. Ooh, the enemy attacked me for another 20 damage. Let's say I'm going to attack. You attack the enemy for 100 damage. I'm going to attack again. You attack the enemy for 100, and I'll do it again. So now the enemy is dead, and we move on to story 2. Now, there's a couple things that I've noticed while playing that, right? We made this very, very basic. First of all, we hard-coded in the 20 damage. We created a variable to handle this, enemy damage. So let's change that to enemy damage so that we can change this variable up here if we really want to. And then here, we can say enemy damage and make this a formatted output. So now we can change this value here, and it'll change all of this for us. Okay. The other thing is we probably want to print your health after you get hit. You have right? That way it's easier for us to see how much damage we can take before we die. Okay. That's pretty much it. So that's basically our attack. That's basically how our combat works in this game. Again, you can make it way more complicated, way more interesting, with more strategy, more ways to attack. We can have random values in here. It's completely up to you. But this basic combat system is really all we need. Now, at this point, you have everything you need to finish building this game. I am not going to create a video walking you through how to finish making this game. You have basically all the functions you need. Inventory is going to be kind of optional if you want to add in items, and you can randomly have them drop items when they die. You could do that right here, and then you can add that to the inventory, and you can have a thing letting them check their inventory or use items. The same thing for healing, right? You can heal your character after they do damage, or after the fight is over if you want, or you can have items that heal them for a certain amount. Yeah, the rest of the story is going to be basically up to you to write. Hopefully, just by following along this far, you can see kind of what we're going for, and you can figure out ways to modify this basic setup and create something that's unique to what you're doing. Okay? Awesome. All right, well, once you get past that part, finish building this game, make it different, make it interesting, add features that I didn't think about, or add on the features I did think about but didn't add to this project. Once you're happy with this, go ahead and turn it in. And, once you're happy with the combat system, definitely turn that in. But then once you're happy with the overall project, the overall game, then, turn that in as well. And yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. All right, see you next time.